Today we're going to be looking at some of Olight's top throwers, meaning these are the lights that reach out the furthest. These two lights I've already spoken about these on my channel, which is the Warrior X Turbo and the Javelot Pro 2. But I have two more additional lights that I want to talk about today. The first being the Javelot Turbo, which is unique because it has a 1:1 lumen to meter ratio, which means it has a max output of 1300 lumens and it throws a max distance of 1300 meters. More often than not, flashlights will need to have more lumens than meters in their throw. Now this next light is a bit different than these three that I have up here, because these three are more traditional lights that have LEDs inside, which stands for light emitting diode. But this next light has a different technology behind it, an LEP, or what's known as a laser excited phosphor. So it is technically a laser, and of course I'm talking about the Olight Odin Turbo. This is Olight's first LEP, and it's actually a weapon mounted light. And while this particular one here has an optional finger grip ring that I put on here for when it's not mounted on a rifle. Now all of these lights have a max throw distance of 1,000 meters or more. So to give you a quick rundown of the max lumens and max meters, we're going to go ahead and start with the Warrior X Turbo, which has 1100 max lumens and 1000 max meters. The Javelot Pro 2 has 2500 lumens max, as well as a max range of 1050 meters. The Javelot Turbo has 1300 lumens, a max distance of 1300 meters, hence the 1:1 ratio. The Odin Turbo actually only has 330 lumens, but it has a max distance of 1050 meters. And again, this is because of the LEP technology that it runs on the back end. Now, of course, you'll notice that the Odin Turbo, as well as the Javelot Pro 2, they have the same distance, and yet the Odin Turbo is much smaller. It has a much smaller head size. And of course, that's due to the laser technology that's inside it. You do pay a price if you're looking for spill or peripheral vision when you're using your light, as we'll see when we go outside, that because this is technically a laser, there's literally no spill to this, so all you're getting is the hot spot. So you have no peripheral vision when you're using this light. It's actually kind of unique because if you're not used to seeing LEPs, or if you've never seen an LEP and you're just used to seeing traditional lights with LEDs and incandescent bulbs, this is actually pretty it's a very interesting and unique experience to see. So let's go outside and I'll show you what they can do. Alright guys, so I'm out here with the Warrior X Turbo, the Javelot Pro 2, the Odin Turbo, as well as the Javelot Turbo. Now to give you some context, this tree right here is about 20 yards away. This tree right here to the top is about 50 yards away. This tree right here in the center is going to be about 130 yards out. So just to give you some context. So first off, I have the Warrior X Turbo. This is on low, 150 lumens. It's at 20 yards. It's at 50 yards. 130 yards. I'm gonna go ahead and crank this thing up to turbo. This is on turbo, the full 1100 lumens. It's at 20 yards. This is at 50 yards. It's at 130 yards. This is the Warrior X Turbo. Alright guys, next up I have the Javelot Pro 2. I'm gonna crank this thing on low. I put this thing on low. This is low, 15 lumens. 20 yards out. 50 yards out, not much there. 130, you can't really see it at all. Crank this thing up to high, or turbo. 2500 lumens. 20 yards. 50 yards. 130 yards. 2,500 lumens. This is the Javelot Pro 2. Alright guys, next up is the Javelot Turbo. This is on low, which is only 15 lumens. 20 yards out. 50 yards out. You can see a little speck out there at 50 yards. 130 yards. I can see something with my naked eye. I don't expect it to come out on film, but I can definitely see something with my naked eye. Go ahead and crank this thing up to its 1300 lumens. Turbo. Again, this is the Javelot Turbo at 1300 lumens. It's at 20 yards. It's at 50 yards. 130 yards. This is 1300 lumens, the Javelot Turbo. Alright guys, next up is the LEP, the Odin Turbo. So first thing you'll notice is that there is really a literal lack of spill. It's only just a hot spot. It's literally just a hot spot, nothing else. There's no spill or anything because it is technically a laser. So this is going to be on low. This is low. This is at 20 yards, 50 yards, and 130 yards. So even on low, it makes it out there just fine to 130 yards. I'm going to go ahead and crank this thing up to high. This is high, so this is going to be the full 330 lumens at 20 yards, 50 yards, 130 yards. Again, this is the Odin Turbo, which is an LEP. Alright guys, so to illustrate the lack of spill that the LEPs have, this is going to be your Warrior X Turbo, which is a standard LED. Now notice the hot spot as well as the spill around it. Even up at this tree here, you can see the hot spot in the tree as well as the spill on the ground. And this here is going to be the Odin Turbo, which is the LEP. Now notice that there is most definitely a lack of spill, any kind of spill, because it's technically a laser. I'm going to go ahead and shine this up at the tree. Notice how it's just the hot spot in the tree. There's nothing on the ground. It's just the hot spot. So that's the difference between the LEP and the LEDs. So for some added context, this is what the environment is going to be looking like. So as you can see, there are two sets of electrical towers. This is the first one, the close one right here, and then this is going to be the further away one. Now I was able to take some measurements using a rangefinder, and so the close one from where I'm standing is going to be 171 yards, and then the further one, the further set, is going to be about 331 yards. So just to give you some context. Alright guys, I'm out here at a further distance. Now the first set of electrical towers is about 170 yards out, and the second set of electrical towers is about 330 yards out. I'm out here with the Warrior X Turbo. I'm going to go ahead and just crank this thing up to high, or turbo. As you can see, it makes it out to the first electrical tower nicely, and it does make it out to the second set as well. So, and it's interesting to note that there is a good amount of ambient light here. We've got the park lights over there, so, and yet you can still see it making it out to these towers just fine. Next up, I have the Javelot Pro 2. I'm just going to go straight to high. As you can see, it makes it out to the first electrical tower at 170 yards. It does make it out to the second one as well at 330 yards. This is the Javelot Pro 2, 2500 lumens. Alright, next up I have the Javelot Turbo, which is 1300 lumens. I'm going to just go ahead and crank it up straight to turbo. Makes it out to 170 yards nicely, as well as the 330 yard mark. This is the Javelot Turbo, 1300 lumens. Alright, next up is the Odin Turbo. I'm going to crank this thing up to 330 lumens. Alright, so this is 330 lumens. It's the Odin Turbo. This is the LEP. Notice that there's a lack of spill that LEDs normally have that you don't get with LEPs. Makes it up to the 170 yard marker just fine, as well as the 330 yard tower. So again, this is the Odin Turbo. It's Olight's first LEP. Alright, so once again, we showed the Warrior X Turbo, the Javelot Pro 2, the Javelot Turbo, as well as the Odin Turbo. These are Olight's big throwers, at least 1,000 meters. If you like this kind of content, give me a like, give me a follow, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you very much, I appreciate it.